we see stories and narratives that shape and build our imaginations every single day. And today I want to share with you how that relates to my personal experience and this idea of flying in place. And by the end of this, that'll make sense of what that means. But I'm sure you've heard the terminology, or you've seen people running in place. It's this idea of movement, but no progression. And we want to talk about power narratives and disempowered people. So, growing up, and I'm still very young. I know some of you might think I'm old. But I'm very young. But early on in my childhood, growing up as a black kid in America was very difficult for a lot of different reasons. And in a very real sense, I hated being black for a very long time. I wished every day that I could wake up and not be black anymore. I didn't want to be black because all I was experiencing was isolation, exclusion from things. We would play certain games on the playground and they wouldn't let me be certain characters because I was black and those characters were white. So I saw nothing good about being black, and I didn't want to be black anymore. Everyone I was learning about in my history books, all of my teachers, everyone on TV was white. So that's what I wanted to be. I aspired to be white. In a lot of these images here, and some of you, I'm not sure if you've touched on this in school yet, but when you start to learn about what this country looked like in the 60s, it's not that far away. My parents and my grandparents both can tell me about these experiences of segregation and racism in this country. And so it's hard for me to reconcile that with the fact that I was placed in positions where I was often felt excluded. I went to a high school where I was one of maybe 2 black kids. And when I left my middle school, all of my black friends called me a sellout because I was abandoning them for something better. So I knew that I needed a narrative. I knew that I needed story to empower me, to a space to where when I realized I was always going to be black, but I needed stories to empower me, to make me feel limitless. So I turned to superheroes. Does anyone like superheroes? I would watch the Justice League, and I loved seeing Superman. I loved this idea of having powers and flying. But he was also white. So on the playground, they wouldn't let me be Superman. Captain America. Same story. The symbol of America is a white man, and I'm still unable to embody this. So what did I do? As I got older, about the time of college, I went on this search to find out about if there were any black superheroes, because I was determined to find a narrative that would empower me, that would make me feel limitless. And so I found that there was a bunch of black superheroes. I learned about this guy named Falcon, whose original name in The Secret Identity is Sam Wilson, born in Harlem, New York. And if you guys go, have anyone seen the new Captain America movies? Good, I like to see some hands. Go to the movies, people. But Falcon is in there. And I was really excited. I was like, wow, this is a black superhero. But I started to read more about his story. And I'm starting to see a pattern amongst black superheroes. Sam Wilson is from Harlem, New York, has 2 parents. They do great things in the community, but they both are killed due to gang violence. And so he turns to a life of a criminal, and a drug abuser. And it's not until Captain America saves him that he learns the way of goodness. And he doesn't actually have superpowers. The only reason why he can fly is because he feels so inadequate to be the sidekick of the great Captain America that he goes to Africa to have wings built for him so that he can just measure up to be a sidekick. I learned about Rocket Racer. I saw that there was this other really cool guy who had a cool skateboard. But also, I saw similarities in the story. He's one of 7 children. His mother dies, and so he can't provide for his family, even though he's a gifted intellect and scientist. So what does he do? He turns to drugs. He turns to gangs, and he becomes a villain of Spider-Man's until one day he decides to become a helper or a sidekick to Spider-Man. I learned about Static. Has anyone ever heard of the show Static Shock? Watch TV, people. Come on. It's right there. And Netflix makes it easier. Look up Static Shock. But I grew up on the TV show Static Shock, and you have this really gifted kid named Virgil Hawkins, who's an amazing scientist, but he develops electrical powers. But then I asked myself, how did he get those powers? I read his backstory in the narrative, and once again, comes from a poor neighborhood, is a part of gang violence, and it's an accident with the police that gives him his powers. And then he turns to good. But even then, he's not really that good. And has anyone seen Justice League on Netflix? Go watch it. Come on, I'm giving you permission. I will give you my account information. I want you to watch this stuff. It's really good. But I saw Jon Stewart. I was like, wow, in the Justice League, there's a black superhero. But then I started to read more about his story. No one wants to work with him because he's belligerent. He doesn't follow authority. He doesn't keep the mandate of the Green Lanterns across the universe. And he doesn't wear a mask because he says black people don't need to wear masks because I have nothing to hide. You think I'm joking? All of this stuff is in the comic books. It's in the cartoons. So here you have this black guy who's amazingly powerful but reckless that no one wants to follow as a leader because he's untamable. And finally I learned about Icon, Augustus Freeman IV. His story fascinated me the most because basically he's a black Superman. He also comes from a foreign planet. But the difference between him and Superman is that when he is sent down in a spaceship from his planet, his ship is programmed for him to become the first life form that opens his ship and he looks at. And he happens to land in a plantation where a black slave woman opens up his ship and he becomes black. And he has superpowers by nature, but he hates also being black. I could identify with that because here you have this guy, by choice, would have probably not chosen to be black when he got to this planet, has superpowers but does not want to use them, and really he spends his life as a corporate lawyer where he really always tells black people that they need to get themselves together. That it's their responsibility to pull themselves up because he's successful so they can be too. So this is what I noticed. There's a formula to making a black superhero. Stereotypes. They're all born in the poverty or the ghetto. They've been in the Olympics, so their physical abilities are celebrated over their intellect. They all have a criminal background. They're all inspired by white superheroes. They have selfish motivation. And one that I didn't mention, his name is Luke Cage. He's a hero for hire. He gets paid to be a superhero. No white superheroes are doing that. It's a black superhero. He comes from a criminal background and he has to get paid just to pay his rent to do superhero work. And they're confined to their neighborhood. All of these black superheroes do nothing more than fight villains and just criminals and drug pushers in their neighborhood. They're never symbols for humanity like Superman or Captain America. They don't fight to save the world. They're not symbols for humanity. So here I am devastated. I'm feeling hopeless because the people that I'm looking to inspire me, to make me feel limitless, to make me feel as though I can save humanity, that I can be a part of this greater work, are confined and limited just like I am. This is the power of narrative. I went to these superheroes to empower me. But here's the spindrift, the conflicting ideas. I can't be empowered by these people because they're struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with. Because of their black skin, they're less than. Because of their black skin, they're not as powerful. Because of their black skin, they're limited to where they can go. And I couldn't find myself. Because a lot of those things in the formula, they weren't my experience. That's not what I grew up with. So what was I going to do? One day, I took a good look in the mirror, and I realized that I was a superhero. That I had powers. And that instead of searching for a narrative, I needed to create one. I needed to be one. I realized that I had powers of love, patience, creativity. I could fly. The picture on the right, that's real. I really did fly. If you want to see it, I can show you later, but there's going to be a price for it. And communication. These were all my superpowers. And I had to use them. So instead of searching for this narrative, I needed to be the creator of one. I needed to live one. And so my message to you today is I want you to look into the mirror. You are a superhero. You have to find your powers and know who you're meant to serve. unlike the stereotypes that black superheroes have been based off of, the heart of being a hero is about service and about giving to humanity, about giving to other people. And each and every one of you has a specific space to occupy, to give and to serve humanity. But good superheroes know their powers, but they also know their villains. As I mentioned, all the black superheroes just fight really low-level people. But our villains are ourselves first. You're your first and greatest villain that you'll fight for the rest of your life. Comparisons, comparing yourself to other people. I know that school and things program you to do that, but I promise you, it's poison. It's kryptonite. Don't do it. Don't compare yourself to other people. And I had to stop doing that, and I still struggle with it every day. Stop comparing yourself. Labels that restrict you and pressures from society. Those are your villains. And if you let those villains take you down, humanity will suffer because you're needed. We need you. Every single person matters. And for myself, I had to realize that I love being black. It's a beautiful thing. And although people try to use that to limit me, I'm actually limitless. I'm actually way more powerful, and which is why they want to keep me down so much. Don't be restricted. Don't have a secret identity. You have to be you at all times because we need you. Everyone was meant to contribute. You're going to contribute at a different level in your life, and you'll discover that as you get older. Some people are destined to go to this place and go to that place. You might be someone who is a creative force in your own neighborhood, but it's all about serving humanity. And so this is the thought that I want to leave you with, because it's liberated me, it's liberated my mind to know that although I'm getting all of these messages and it's still very hard on TV, not seeing people who look like me, I realize that that's why I'm here. I'm here to pave the way. I am here to invest myself and to use my superpowers for good.